all, and welcome back to another thrilling episode of Off the Dome. I'm your humble interviewer, Jordan Brown, and with me, as always, is our heroic host. Say hi, heroic host.
Hi, heroic host.
Oh, we get some Wendell voice right off the bat.
Oh, yeah, we're getting it all the... I like how much people have taken to the Wendell voice, because I was like, this can go either way. People are going to love it or hate it.
Oh, love it so much. I was really torn because you've been on before and you were heroic host the first time. I was like, well, he should stay heroic host, but obviously also Vivacious Vicar. Ooh, that's a good...
Vivacious Vicar, the Vicar.
That's a very good alliteration. Sure and let's start right there. We got lots of stuff to talk about. Let's make a quick $6,700 for Bitcherton.
Yes.
People jumping in right now, why should they go back? What is Bitcherton? Why should they back it on Kickstarter.com/Bitcherton? I don't know what the URL is. I'll put it in the thing.
Yeah, I think it is Bitcherton.com. We were able to lock it down.
Bitcherton.com for sure is, but then go to Kickstarter too.
Yeah, I think if you go to Bitcherton.com, it's right there. Yeah, donate now is right there, and it takes you right to the Kickstarter. Yes. So Bitcherton, is a improvised comedy podcast, which is kind of like in the vein of Bridgerton, Jane Austen novels, all the Regency good stuff, which is a funny place to kind of have this comedy because there's so many constraints, right? Like, and even within the constraints, I sent it to Dre Clark, who does my movie podcast with me, huge Jane Austen fan, and has like kind of called out some of the moves that I made, which is the clip that's kind of going around where it was like, when a gentleman kisses, they can taste their swears. And she was like, well, even then they wouldn't even talk about kissing. Like even seeing, they're like, this is definitely seeing an ankle is like seeing a whole titty, like that's what we're working with. And you just have a bunch of comedians just kind of playing within that realm. It's just so fun. And we've already, even in the pilot, you can see the kind of like relationships and things we're building up to kind of being laid out. And I think that it's, great. And, right off the gate, I'll answer the question that even my homies sent in the group chat, which is, why do you need $30K for a podcast? And I think the answer is simple. It's like to pay people. I think that especially in the comedy podcast world, we've gotten away with like lots of favors. I think lots of comedy podcasts, your engineer editors are getting good rates and your guests are getting, nothing. The more popular ones will give you like maybe 100, maybe 250, which, for an hour of like goofs, that's great. But I think once you start doing like a long form seasonal kind of podcast, that rate kind of bumps up a bit. So that's what that's for, making sure everyone's paid well, and most importantly, paid with SAG-AFTRA, which is, I think, very important, especially for a lot of the writer performers that are on this pod, because I think a lot of us will be losing our WGA insurance because of the strike, followed by the lack of just work in general. So luckily, we have things, lots of us are from Dropouts, and the Dropout, is SAG, and that helps us, qualify for that insurance. Actually, I qualified for SAG insurance for the first time because of my work on Dropout, but I've just been using WGA because that's what I already had. So, that's all to say, it may seem hefty, but really this is just what it really costs like when you want to have everyone get paid.
Yeah, I should say this is one of those goof 'em up hours that runs on favors. Whoops! Look, I would have loved to start paying people.
Look, you're a one-man operation. You're doing all the work. You know what I mean? Like, yes. I think it's once you start hiring out people and expecting those favors, that's when it gets like that. But like, that's how you start. Typically, even, our relationship pod right now, we're still building up, and, even in complete full transparency with ads, we're still only making like maybe $100 a month, so it really is like, working your way up to the point of where you have these like bigger podcasts and on these big networks, you know, that are not able to pay out, you know, that's when it starts being like, but I think, you know, Jordan, you're fine. I wasn't like, this wasn't a passive aggressive way to be like, Jordan ain't even paying me shit,
it's
man.
all guilt over here.
Yeah. No need to guilt. I think it's all just, you know, relative, right? Where it's like, if this isn't like a serious XM type show, which, you know, they are paying, don't come for me, please keep inviting me back. But, you know, I think that, you know, when it's indie, it's indie, and when it's not, it's not. And I think the what we're trying to do is make it not indie, you know, and making sure that everyone can get paid
and get that good health insurance. It's just,
yes
it's so
indeed
important.
yes indeed
You mentioned the cast. Let's run through them.
yes
We got Cassie Wilson, we got Brian Flaherty, we got Carolyn Page, we got Katie Maravich, and a co-star of Never Stop Blowing Up, Alex Songsha. What a killer group. And then just like monster guest stars lined up for every episode. I didn't write those down, but I know Reka, Vic, you got Jasper William Cartwright coming in, I'm sure, to criticize all of your British accents. Teo, Peter Gross, which there's I don't know what happened. Brian Flaherty, when I talked to him, he was like, he told me all the names off camera because they hadn't announced them yet, and he said Peter Gross, and I missed every name he said after it because I love Wait, Don't Tell Me so much, and like my brain just stopped working, and I was like, Peter Gross, and then like afterwards I was like, I missed everyone else he said. But yeah, it's gonna be. I think it's. I've listened, obviously, to the pilot. Look, I'm a Kickstarter backer. We'll be full transparency over here. The pilot's fantastic, and following the sort of premise of Mission to Zix, of guest stars coming in every episode to drive plot, and I think all of it seems like so much fun. The pilot is delightful. You play the vicar, as well as I guess like spoilers for the pilot if you don't really want to know, but like
zoom ahead if you don't want any pilot spoilers.
Old Lady Big Withers, did I get the name right? Like, just such a great reveal. First of all, that the Gossip Mag columnist is also the vicar. So funny in general, but also so brilliant, I think, for the show moving forward, because now you're going to get that every time the vicar is having a conversation with anyone else and they like drop some juicy gossip, you're like, uh-oh, you fucked up because Lady Big Wither's in the room with you and you don't know it.
And that was so fun, just kind of having some of those scenes where gossip was being dropped and kind of having, you know, me being like, oh, can you give me a little more information, and, you know, leaning into the fun of that. I think that was my favorite. I like the idea of someone just, you know, trying to play it cool when they are not playing it cool.
But
he's the, you know, and it's funny because, you know, we only did the pilot, but we kind of talked through kind of our plans for the whole season. And that truly is like, you know, like that is what has kind of driven me, because we've been like, okay, great, we're going to try out this like having this whole like weird connection to someone that you usually confess to, you're usually confessing your sins to, and you're usually talking all that stuff. Like that gives you so much weird access to people's whole, you know, drama, and having that be the person who's like writing saucy, salacious details. It's very great. It's super fun and funny.
Super fun choice. Super funny. The pilot is fantastic. Boy, Katie Maravich just swinging for the fences right out the gate, starts the pilot in a ditch. Truly, just like, I was not prepared. I've said this to other people that I interviewed. Like, I thought like there was some weird other sound coming from somewhere in my house, because you can hear her wailing softly. And I was like, wait, what's where is this? And I was like, oh,
Yeah.
it's in the podcast. Oh, and then it's Katie's in a
Yes.
ditch. So funny. Everyone is so funny and so fantastic. How did you land on horny vicar
That's so funny.
as your character choice?
Well, we were looking for like, so the whole Vicar Big Wither thing was just a thing we found just in finding characters. So I knew I wanted to do the Vicar because I felt like that would have rounded out the cast more. But for me, what really kind of solidified it was the connection to him being Lady Bigwither. And we talked about that and we are like, oh, that's so good. And through that, which I was trying to say, but I kind of stumbled through and around, never really quite landing on it, was that he has his own motivations for why he's doing everything he's doing. And it's going to be fun trying to like sprinkle that in, and having that information coming into it. There's already been things that, he has been doing to kind of hint to that, to kind of be like, okay, this is why this is what's happening. This is why it's happening. And it's very fun to kind of play in that realm. I like to have moments where when you kind of get more information, you're like, oh, that's why that happened. Okay, I see now. And hopefully people do see.
Yeah. Vicar Devoutly, so good. Also, Brian is your son, just like
yes,
so brilliantly fantastic. It's funny when I talked to Brian, he had mentioned that like if you guys raised $1 million, he would turn it into a TV show.
Yes.
And I was like, I want to see like you and Brian play father and son. That's just a pairing that makes sense.
Say nothing.
Roughly
and
the
we'd say
same
nothing
age.
About it.
Do you remember your reply to Brian when he cold emailed you to ask you to be on the show? It was 2 words, if that helps.
Oh, was it hell yeah?
It was let's boogie.
That's so funny.
A thing I have now fully incorporated into my email writing. I was just like, that's so fantastic. Like Brian was like, I wrote him this huge email of just like, here's all the details you might want to know. And like, I didn't know him, but obviously like we knew a bunch of similar people. And he wrote back, let's boogie. And I was like, that's the perfect response of just like, yep, I'm in.
Yeah, that's my go-to, especially when it's something that seems interesting or something I really want to like, try. Like if you present me with an idea that seems like exciting, seems, like fun, you're going to get let's boogie. Like, because that is like how I kind of like feel. It's like all the stuff we get to do is just like play with our friends, every like VIPs, the D20s, the actuallys, the Bitchertons. It's getting to like play with friends. So for me, it's not like okay, let me like look into this, or if I have the time, it's like, nah, let's boogie. That sounds good. Let's have some fun.
Yeah. So you are my last cast member to get to for Bitcherton.
Yes.
I mentioned this to Carolyn Page, and I was like, it's not been like an intentional, I'm going to save Ify for last, although obviously you are a fantastic closer. I was just like, Ify is so busy. And she described you as a bag of holding of podcasts.